For yes, it is just the opposite in humans. Humans are more comfortable in smaller groups than they are in larger groups, or herds, if you wish to express it that way. There's an uncomfortableness for a human to be in an extreme amount of other humans. But what is it from a horse perspective, that herd aspect versus a pair aspect? See, when horses are one or two or three together, the nature of a horse, think of it this way. You know yourself as a human, but you also know yourself as a divine being. Same thing for a horse. They are just a horse, but they are also of a higher consciousness. That just horse aspect doesn't matter the size of the horse, it is very competitive. And so when there is a smaller gathering of horses, 2, 3, 4, there's a bit of a competition between who has the rights to the space, who is bigger, who is going to play harder. And this is shown throughout that small group. But when you have a large herd, 20, 30, 50, this large herd, it still takes place. But everyone begins to understand there's no need for competition. Everyone understands within that herd that everyone is here purposefully and we must all get along, otherwise we will be our own demise.
All right. Hi, everyone. It's Candice Craw-Goldman, again from quantumhealers.com. And this is another episode of Animal Talk. And we have Will and Allison Brown with us today. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Always good to see you.
Oh, gosh, so good to see you too. And we have a special guest today. This is Kate Coldren. And Kate, did I say your name right? Your last name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Kate is one of the authors in this book, The Awakening Stories book that Allison edited and that 22 of us wrote a chapter in. And today we're going to be talking about horses and another project, one a little bit like this. So take it away, Will and Allison. What's next up on the plate? And why are we doing this show today?
That was a wonderful project. In fact, it was so well received and so much fun that we decided to do it again. And as we were contemplating the theme of our next anthology, horses were coming into our purview. And they have been actually in our awareness for probably a year and a half now, for various reasons. And you and I have talked about that on previous shows. And then at the same time, Kate contacts me and she says, I know what we need to do for the next anthology. It has to be about horses. I said, exactly. So she and I were getting that same energetic hit, that intuitive piece. And so we thought that it might be a good idea to call in some of the horses that want to work with us on this project. Of course, the humans are going to write the story, but the horses are really the ones that are going to be transmitting the energy for those stories based on their connections and relationships with some of those authors. And so Kate has a few in her awareness that live with her and that she works with and loves, and so do you, Candice. And some of those have transitioned and some are still living. And so we thought it would be a fun idea to sort of call them in and see who it is that wants to talk with us today, why they are circulating in our awareness, and how they want to help on this new project, and what do they want humans to know.
I love the way you did that. And so Allison's actually saying circulated because we had quite the morning, actually the evening before, and then the morning of communication. And it was a number of us sort of trying to get together on what we were going to do today. And then there was this horse and that horse and this person and their horse and a bunch of different things. And my own horses were doing this. And then suddenly it just became very apparent that the energies of the specific horses were gathering and swirling. And I have to tell you, I know, Will, you're going to be the one who does the voicing of this particular collective for this project. And I'm so looking forward to that. But like they've been like here and like poking, and I've been getting tiny little downloads during the day, and I've been like a giddy little kid. This to me is so exciting. I've already said this to Allison, but I'll say it for the camera right now. As amazing as it was to be a part of this book, and it was in more ways than I can even tell you, and I'm still working my way through reading it. When the idea of the horse book came up, I'm so horse. From the time I was born, I was horse. I have horse in my DNA. This stuff did happen. Yes, it's part of my life now. Yes, it's what I focus on now. Not as long or as passionately involved with personally as my life with horses. And I cannot tell you how excited I am about this project, really feeling very giddy about it, and very excited about today too. So, Kate, we want you to say something too. Kate wrote chapter 11 and I wrote chapter 10, and I still want to know how that happened. The two horse people. I don't know if there's any other horse people in here, but the two of us ended up to be right together, and your story really just moved me to tears, and I just loved it so much. So Kate's here because she's part of this next project. And I don't know, what do you have to say about it all, Kate, before we get started?
Well, thank you so much for that feedback. It means so much to me. It's lovely. So this project, it's just so cool to think about bringing all the horse people together. And, because there's usually in the horse world, like we're all really segmented in our disciplines. And I think that, the horses are trying to kind of gather us together and work together to kind of move into this new space, right? And I think that the horses really want a voice so that they can reach out to people that may have lost that connection with horses. Maybe their grandparents were into horses or great grandparents. Really, it was when the automobile came around that our relationship with horses stopped. And I think that, they're kind of looking back to the humanity saying, like, where did you guys go? So I think it's going to be really exciting to kind of see how this unfolds. I've reached out to a bunch of different people this week. I've got about 12 individuals that are interested, which is a good start for 1 week's worth of recruiting. But there's a lot more to do, and I'm really excited to see how the horses guide us.
And didn't you say, Kate, that you think your horses actually are communicating with you about who perhaps to reach out to?
Yeah, well, and even the horses that I've known through my friends, right? So it's interesting how, and this is wild, but I think there's this whole horse network where they can kind of telepathically talk to each other, and they're like, "Hey, my mom can help your mom," like I've heard stories like that before, and it's really wild to see how, like, I feel like they're the little masterminds behind it all. They're the ones that are kind of pulling the strings and getting people to show up in ways they've not shown up before. And then coordinating things kind of in the background, right? Without us really consciously knowing what's happening, because we're, like, it's a relationship. So it'll be really interesting. And my life's changed a lot in the last year. So I had 7 horses at the beginning of the year, and that number has doubled since then. And like, I have wild stories where horses, like last year, I had 2 horses just show up at my house while I wasn't home. I had gone off to trim 2 donkeys, and I get a missed call from a neighbor, and then my husband calls me. He's like, "Kate, 2 chestnut geldings just showed up at our house. I opened the gate and they walked in and stayed." That doesn't happen.
Famous myth.
These two horses, their owner was at a horse show, and he lived maybe a mile, 2 miles from my house, kind of across the way. And I just, I was like, I don't know what to do, and he's not going to be home until after dark, and so I loaded him on my trailer. I took him home. His wife told me where to put them. Um, it was just like, it's just stuff you just can't make up. They're just like, what's going on at Kate's house? Let's go take a little adventure.
They need a little of your energy, that's all.
It's so hysterical. But anyway, yeah, I think this next year's going to be fun. And I think working with all these authors is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And those are exactly the energies we want to call in today. All of those horses in the horse network that are trying to collaborate with us.
I think that's actually, I like the way you said that, Kate, and I think that makes a lot of sense. It's that instead of the collective of horses is so big, but this network, even though it encompasses the collective, it's a bit more refined. When you said that instantly, I kind of thought about like mushrooms and the mycelium and how they're all interconnected, and it's all part of the substrate of everything that we live on. Well, it's that energy circuitry that all the horses are connected to, and I would even venture to say that every single animal on this planet are all have a node within that network, and they all talk to each other, and they all somehow orchestrate our connections with them. And it's kind of like a little a whole nother universe that's taking place just right here around us, and they're reining us in when we think we're trying to put reins and all that on horses and try to control them. No, we're really just part of their experience. So
Perfect. Well, you sitting under that tree reminds me that, my favorite tree every once in a while will reach out and talk to a client through me, and I'll just innocently ask, do you have a favorite tree? And usually their face will go, oh my gosh, yes. And then I'm like, my tree has something to say to your tree. And I've done this now a couple times with horses. As a matter of fact, the most amazing one was like 2 days after my beautiful horse Rio passed away. My client, who'd been booked for weeks and weeks, we were connecting because her horse passed away. And it was just like, oh my goodness. And Ria's energy came in and her horse's energy came in. So we have some glimpses of this connection of this network, and but these are probably representatives, for this particular project. And well, I'm ready to get started if you guys are.
Heck yeah, I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
all right.
All right, I'm going to move off screen.
All right, just adjust the chair a little bit. All right. Whew. So before we begin, just get yourself nice and comfortable and relaxed. Take a couple nice, deep cleansing breaths. Just nice long inhale through the nose, nice long exhale through the mouth. Just and allow your attention and your focus to be upon that horse network as we all get connected into it. And as you do, I'm going to go ahead and begin. We wish you greetings from this, as you have called upon it, this horse network. See, it is more than just what you perceive it in your humanness. For each and every one of you, whether you have a horse within your existence or it is just there in your awareness, each of you are drawn to a specific energy. And it is this network. And when you have to understand this network, it is greater than just the horses. For all that are associated with any animal, you are part of that network. See, you have drawn upon the collective of horses. And that is a different energy than this network. Think of the network as that communication layer, the one that you speak to all the time, the one that speaks to you, the one that grabs your attention, the one that draws you in, the one that points your focus to a new horse, a new animal. Specifically, the horse network. You have to understand it. This just as you may lead your horse, and just as you may sit atop and guide it, the network, those horses that have always been with you, they're the ones in control of the reins. See, it is this that has guided you to this new project. For it has been in your awareness for some time, just below the surface. But it is now where, think of it as connection points. The lights grow a bit brighter on those connection points, and the ideas begin to form. Well, it is this network that is amplifying that for each and every one that is going to be involved. And so yes, you are being drawn to it, just as all that are going to be with you for each of their horses are guiding them to this, aligning them to this. And why is this? For you understand the relationships that you have had with your horses. You also understand the extent of these relationships. But it is to understand what takes place beyond your humanness and that relationship. And that is the voice to be heard. Each of these voices are going to bring across information that is to enlighten other souls, whether they have a horse or not. This is to bring an awareness to all that read the words. It is to connect them even deeper into this network. Whether they have another animal as a pet, the premise is horses. But for those that do not have horses and they read the words, they will be closer aligned to their animals, their pets. So this is a greater project than you see it at the moment. This is something that has been there with you, again, just below the surface. And it took just a bit of us nibbling at you to bring it to the surface. So now that it is here, now it is time to saddle up, take the reins, and drive on.
I love that. What an introduction. Thank you for that, and thank you for your presence. Will and I know that we have had horse energy around us for quite some time, 12 to 18 months probably, and I think it was the General Horse Collective that said there was a purpose. Is that what this is? Is this the culmination of that?
For the purpose that was spoken about is just, yes, it is gathering voices. Now, from the collective standpoint, yes, it is just the gathering of voices. Now, you have already orchestrated one gathering of voices. Think of that as being just the beginning, just the testing of the waters. There is more to come. If you were to speak of the horses, yes, this is the next, and there will be a next and a next. This is just the beginning.
Wow, thank you for that. So what do we need to keep in mind or consider as we move forward in this project from your perspective?
Think of this project as being your main horse. Now, when it first arrived, there were certain things you needed to do to become accustomed to it, to work with it, to strengthen your bond with it. Think of this project a very similar way. This project will be infused with horse energy. So it is just that. It is to look upon it as how you would take in a new horse and work with it and build those bonds. Each individual that places their words upon the paper, there's going to be a bond that is strengthened. And it is understanding how you have taken those new horses in that have not been fully capable of being their true self and allowing that to shine. That is what you shall infuse into this project.
Aha, so taking those words and helping the energy of those words really step forward in the story. So for those who feel that they don't have experience as a writer, or that they don't know how to get their story onto paper, that will be my job in finessing that.
Precisely, and it is for Candice and Kate and any others that wish to take control as far as steering and pulling and the reins to guide it. It is understanding how you put that force behind a new horse so that you do gain those bonds. See, this is more about strengthening connections, but it is also about the words. Yes, your strength is to corral the words, circle them, and get them all in the right position so that the reader understands them. But for those that are in the background, they're the ones to work with the writers to corral their energies in the right direction.
Very exciting, thank you. Obviously, this project is purposeful in timing and scope as we move into 2025 and the continued evolution of humanity. So I'd like to ask, what is the role for horses as we move into this next phase of the evolution of humanity?
For many that you already know, and for yourself, it is the perception of horses and their consciousness. For yes, they are a large animal that stands before you. Their presence holds a space around you. But it is introducing yourself to their consciousness. But not just the singular consciousness. It is this network of consciousness that they are all connected to. This is what it is to understand where humanity is evolving to. You understand humans' consciousness and it is how it is all connected, but it is difficult to see at times. But if you were to stand and observe and be close to a horse, and if there are other horses present, you'll understand there is no communication between them verbally, but there is a communication that is taking place, and this is through their consciousness. And when you begin to understand this, then this is what allows you to assist fellow humans, and working with them not from a physical plane, but from a consciousness plane.
Wow. And other than through this communication network that you speak of, how is it that the Horse Collective works with the other animals on Earth to bring us back into our fullness as humans?
If I think of it, for yourself, you have animals amongst you. You have felines amongst you. Now, they too are part of this greater network, but they too also bring forward what you need from the network just as you need it, meaning those moments where you are struggling. And yes, they are capable of understanding you and working with that point of struggle, that point of frustration. But at times it may be just beyond their capabilities, so they connect into the network and draw upon another animal's energy. Their communication point to strengthen themselves so that they can take on your challenges. See, all animals, whether they are your pets or not, whether just even the animals that are amongst you on your properties, a squirrel, a bird, it doesn't matter what it is. They're purposeful for humanity. Now, they all communicate and they all amplify each other when needed. They will redirect much of their focus to a particular group of animals on a particular property in order to change the vibrational field on that property so that it is clean and clear, so that new humans, those that are going to, say, reside there, feel comfortable. Animals do so much upon your planet, and it is just now that you're beginning to see what is taking place. There is much more to learn. They're just not there scampering about and scavenging food. They are diligently working for you, all around you, all the time.
That's interesting. So our animals are not just connected to source for sustenance, but also to this network.
This is correct.
Wow. And so from your perspective, what are humans missing? What do we need to know? What lesson can we gain from you all?
For many humans, this is purely from the horse network observation of humans. Humans are too distracted. There's too many things that they are trying to do at any one moment. For if you were to step aside of all of what you are doing and observe a horse for a period of time, a half of a day, just sitting and observing that horse, the horse will spend much time just grazing and being at peace at what it is doing. It doesn't have to do anything. It is comfortable just being. That is the reflection that it wishes to show any human that is around it. It is finding your own peace at being, not distracted with every moment of every second of every day. Do not fill every moment of that day with something. It is to take time to understand self. And it is being in presence with an animal of that size that will begin to show you this. Because if that animal, as intelligent as they are, can spend time just being, then you too can spend time just being.
Very good point. Thank you for that. Kate says that she's noticed a calmer demeanor in larger herds versus horses that live in pairs. Can you talk to us about the difference there and what humans can gain from that understanding?
For yes, it is just the opposite in humans. Humans are more comfortable in smaller groups than they are in larger groups, or herds, if you wish to express it that way. There's an uncomfortableness for a human to be in an extreme amount of other humans. But what is it from a horse perspective, that herd aspect versus a pair aspect? See, when horses are one or two or three together, the nature of a horse, think of it this way. You know yourself as a human, but you also know yourself as a divine being. Same thing for a horse. They are just a horse, but they are also of a higher consciousness. That just horse aspect doesn't matter the size of the horse, it is very competitive. And so when there is a smaller gathering of horses, 2, 3, 4, there's a bit of a competition between who has the rights to the space, who is bigger, who is going to play harder. And this is shown throughout that small group. But when you have a large herd, 20, 30, 50, this large herd, it still takes place. But everyone begins to understand there's no need for competition. Everyone understands within that herd that everyone is here purposefully and we must all get along, otherwise we will be our own demise. So then the herd begins to work together. Now, how does that work within humans? This will take time in consciousness to shift. Right now, humans are incapable of gathering in large groups, 20, 50, 100 of individuals all at once and all working for the same outcome. Inevitably, someone will portray themselves as the leader, and then it becomes a struggle. This is all within the consciousness of the human at this point, because the human can override the consciousness that wants to do it, but the humanness will override that. So the consciousness is just then put off to the side at that moment. Smaller gatherings are always best.
Fantastic. That's so helpful, and I can envision us working together in tribes or communities or herds in the new earth. I think we will.
For humans themselves, if you are to peer back into the great distance, you would understand, yes, humans came from a place of great numbers, a herd, because they all understood their role. They understood they each had to protect one another. They had to gather together, they had to forage together, they had to live together. But as humans progressed and humans advanced physically, then this is where the separation came from. And the separation became comfortable. So yes, gatherings of large numbers is uncomfortable.
I see. And within the herd, what are some of those roles that the horses take on, even if they're unspoken roles?
You have parental roles, those that present themselves as the parent amongst the group. You have the dominant male and female. Now, you also have to understand there are many times that even a male will take on a dominant female role and a female will take on a dominant male role. This is just very similar to your human aspect of your divine feminine and your divine masculine, and it's finding balance within it here too. Those roles will shift and it will be expressed accordingly. There are the instigators. These are generally the juveniles, the ones that have yet to figure out how to acclimate to the herd. They will nip and bite and play even to their own detriment. There are those that are the teachers, the ones that are the eldest will show the greater herd of how to forage appropriately in a new pasture. You have to understand it is very similar roles to that of the humans, but it has been advanced greatly through time.
Outstanding. I'm going to ask Candice now if she has further questions for you.
Well, I'll start by asking this one. I've always sort of thought that the felines and the equines seem to have some sort of affinity with each other. Can you speak to that at all? My cat has been all over the room here since you've been talking and has been exhibiting some really interesting aspects of behavior since you've been speaking with us. I wonder if you could just talk about felines and equines.
For the feline energy, you may see it exhibited in a very small feline there as your pet. But that feline energy is much more substantive than just the small aspect of the physicality. It is quite equal to that of a horse. The energy itself, even present in a small feline, it holds a presence and a stature much grander than their physicality, similar to a horse. So yes, the pairing between them, the understanding of that consciousness, they are on par, if you understand that. They equalize one another. And so they, yes, even within the community setting, say in your stables, the felines are always the ones that are watching. They are the protectors of the barn itself or the stables itself to ensure that no predators will make their way in, even the smallest of those that wish to contaminate food. So they're there, and the horse understand this. So as the felines are in presence, the horses feel comfortable that they know that they are safe. So yes, their presence and consciousness is equal. It is very grand. Now, it may not seem that way at times with the physicality of your own feline pets, but yes, if you were to sense into it, you would sense a much grander consciousness.
Thank you so much. Can I ask another question?
You may.
So I have a friend who is a singer, beautiful Templeton Thompson is her name. She actually wrote a song about this. The title of the song is There's Just Something About Girls and Horses. What is it with women, the female human and horses, that seem to be just so very special, their bond? What is that all about?
For it is that pure gentleness, no matter the size. As you approach your horse, no matter how big it may stand, there is a gentleness, a comforting, a aspect of, even if you wish to say it, a bit of a mother feeling. So this is why many females feel very comfortable once they are introduced to the horse themselves. Now, it may take time to gain comfort around them, but there's a knowing, there's a presence. It is just because you are equal in compassion, equal in love, and equal in the gratitude that you provide to all others around. Horses are the same. So both of you bring this in, and this is why, yes, if you were to observe a female and a male around horses, the demeanor is completely different of the same horse. So when that horse is around the male, they straighten up, they tense up, they know that the work is to begin. But around the female, they loosen, they soften, and their heart begins to expand. Very similar to the humans. As you approach a male, you understand that it takes a bit of stature, to begin to communicate. But with a female, you can soften your voice, you can relax just a bit. It is just as if it is mother. So this is the bond that females have with horses, because that is the true understanding of a horse, no matter the size. They are quite gentle, quite compassionate, quite healing.
Thank you so much. That's all I have.
I think I know the answer to this next question. Kate and Candice both have a number of horses in presence with them and also on the other side that have transitioned. I assume they're part of this network that's speaking with us now. Is that correct?
No, for this is correct. You have to understand they have been speaking to them before even this conversation. Nipping at the ears, if it were, just gently pulling at the hair to say, it is time.
They both have felt it. Kate, did you have anything you want to conclude with?
I don't have anything else.
Amazing. Before we close then, what else do we need to know that we haven't thought to ask, please?
For as you move forward with this project, allow each of your days to be filled with that presence of this horse network. Allow it to be an intention that you set for each day, whether it is just 1 or 2 words or your time is focused with it. This is your project to move forward with, but you also have to honor how you have gotten there. You have been led. You have been bridled and led to this point. Now it is time to put it all together. And by giving that intention the needed energy it requires, all will allow themselves to be part of this project.
Thank you for that. We're so grateful for your delightful presence today with us.
Thank you. It has been our pleasure. And at any point that you wish, speak those words and we will be present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Lots of emotion there.
I felt emotional all day long.
Yeah.
From all of the horses, but mostly the ones that are no longer with me. Mostly the ones that a couple I wasn't able to have a proper goodbye. They felt very close and very much a part of this connection today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, it was, I mean, I obviously don't know what came about, but when they disconnected, my heart just like went, oh, I just felt it. I mean, so, whoo, yeah.
That was so neat how they introduced themselves, and right off the bat, they answered the first 3 questions. I didn't have to ask who they were, why they were here, how they were connected with the project. I mean, they went into all of that. It was so lovely to know that we were guided. We know that we are, but it's so nice to have that confirmation. And it's hilarious to me how they kept using the horse lingo about being bridled and led to the project.
And corralled and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the part about the herd. That was really, really great. Especially Will, the network talked a lot about the different characters in a herd, and I saw Kate smiling the same time I was, because she knows about that. She knows about the instigators and the leaders and all of those things. They're definitely characters, and they swap positions. But the most fascinating, and you horse people out there, go back and listen to what Will said. He was talking about the fact when you've got a really small group, 3, 4, 5 horses, there's a certain dynamic that if those horses were put in their more natural state of a larger presence, a larger herd, even though some of the initial characteristics of that maintain. I think, what he was really saying is that it's kind of softened and it integrates more with the natural, larger group presence of horses. That was sort of a new concept for me to hear.
Interesting.
Right, because I know, and I'm not like I said, I'm not a horse owner or person, or I'm not familiar with them, but I've heard enough from you all to know that you don't have one horse alone, right? And so 2 or 3 or 4 is nice. And I was thinking, okay, that's perfect. But obviously the most beneficial, I guess, scenario would be for them to be in herds, bigger herds and stuff. But so that was really interesting.
You'd be surprised how many people out there have horses just with some cows or all alone. And it is probably one of the things that breaks my heart more than anything in the world. I drive by a couple of those horses every day, and I try to give them my love from my vehicle, because that's all I can do. But horses, absolutely, they're herd animals, and to have them live alone is it's like solitary confinement for a human, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's depressing. Say something nice. Say something fun. Somebody, how about let's move to this, Allison and Will, practical communication about this project. Are you looking for people to contact you about this and to submit anything, or what are the parameters? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I imagine that our contact information, support@palmandlotus.com, will be at the bottom in the description. And if you are watching this and you are a horse person, and you don't even have to own horses at the moment or be, immersed in them at the moment, but if you've ever interacted with a horse and had a healing, mystical, magical experience, that's what we're looking for. We want to hear about the relationship between humans and horses and how lives have been changed, because we know that's the case. So any of those types of stories, it doesn't have to be woo-woo. Even cowboys who have a story that might be unexplainable, or something happened, or somehow they were healed or emotionally healed, or whatever that is, and you feel compelled to get that out, I think honor that. And that might be your horse nudging you to tell your story. Even if you don't think that you're a good writer, that's our job to help. As the Horse Network said, is that we're going to work with you all to get the story from the nebulous down onto paper in a timeline fashion, and then we will work on the mechanics and all of that. And so don't let that scare you off.
Oh, I mean,
reach out.
even with our last anthology that Candice held up there, there were a number of our authors that had those concerns, that they just had an idea of what they wanted to bring to paper, but it's through guidance, and we have those resources to bring that, like Allison says, from the vapor down to substance. So, don't let that be the hindrance. I mean, we had several authors that were like that, and we were able to assist them to get a beautiful story out. So, yeah.
Right. And it is roughly 2,500 to 3,000 words, which is about 10 pages in a book. And you would be surprised how easy it is to knock out 2,500 words. In fact, I had several authors who had to corral themselves, Kate being one of them, into 3,000 words, because when you start writing or getting your thoughts out on paper, there's just so much exciting stuff to tell.
Yep.
So sometimes that's the hardest part, is to keep it into one chapter. But yeah, we will handhold you. We have a lot of guidelines that we send out to all of our authors. We have Zoom meetings in the beginning to network, like they said, and to connect ourselves in a bond. Because this is a community. This is a community that we create with these projects, and it's purposeful. Everybody that signs on, it's purposeful. You're drawn in for a reason, and these words are going to make a difference in humanity, especially in 2025, as people start to wake up or understand themselves as more than just a physical body. They start to understand the connections that they have with Source, with their God, with the humans around them, with their animals. When people read your story, you would be surprised. People like to say, oh, what do I have to say? Or why would anybody want to read my story? You would be surprised how much positive feedback we're getting about awakening stories, and people see themselves in your story, and that itself is healing, even if they've not been around horses. So your words are important. We value that, and humanity needs it.
Fantastic. Well, so we'll just have people contact you, and not with a transcripts or anything right away. You probably want an initial contact first, right?
Yeah.
Just to make that clear. Contact them about who you are, maybe your idea that you have so far, or just that you have interest, and then we'll take it from there after some communication. Kate, do you have anything to say about everything that was said today, and anything else to add here at the end?
I'm just very excited about the project. I think it's something that it was definitely pulling at me, since I kind of dove in talking about horses in this last book and how it was so instrumental in my own life story. So I think that is, and it's, I feel like the last 10 years of being here, kind of isolated on my farm, the horses have gotten a lot louder in terms of, like what the plan is, right? Like there's plan, you got to execute the plan. So I just am excited to share, and I'm looking forward to working with all the authors and reading their stories, because I think that's going to be the best part. I mean, when I got my copy of the Awakening stories, I was so excited to read it all, and it was just so fascinating how all the different stories, since they were so different, all did connect, right? It was a really unified project, and it was done very in isolation. I talked with a couple of other authors, but not in like large collaborations or anything like that, just little, like, how are you doing this? Like, what are you focusing on? But it wasn't the fact that everybody's story still had the same underlying feeling of, this is what life's all about. I think that's something that is just a huge, important piece to help humanity in difficult times.
Right. And we are connecting via the heart space. So that's what we're seeking. We're not pushing this out necessarily on social media just to have 23 authors or 25 authors. We want those who really feel called, who resonate with the project from a place of heart-centeredness. Right. That's what we're looking for. And that's what we create in this community. And as you said, you may not know each other on the front end, but your energy knows each other. Mm-hmm. And your energy is drawing into the community. And so you feel that when you pick up the book, whether you're one of the authors or whether you're one of the readers, you feel that energy. That's what you're speaking of, Kate. You just feel that resonance.
All right. Well, this has been a fascinating first step to this next project. I have to say, it's a lot of fun having an author page on Amazon.com. I actually think that you can add more books if you've written forwards or things to other books too. I'm looking into that because I've done that for a number of other books, but this is the first time I've been on the inside in the meat, and someday I'm going to have my own book. But it's a lot of fun to do that. It's a great sense of accomplishment, and one of my favorite things to say is somehow Allison and crew were able to, talk about herd cats or herd horses. I mean, these 22 people, one of my favorite things you said was you didn't have to chase anyone down or anything. You laid out a plan. Everybody followed it, and it was completed in kind of like no time. It's just it's so much.
They're 23 just to yeah, 23. No, that's okay. But when you're dealing with 23 people, yes, on one hand, it can be difficult with everybody's time schedule and to corral them. But on the other hand, nobody wants to be the one that says, the book's late because of me, or, or
there's always that kind of underlying,
I didn't proofread my chapter
assumption.
well enough, so nobody wants to let anybody else down. And so that's the point when you have everybody working towards a common goal, like they said with the herds. What we're going to be doing in humanity moving forward is working towards a common goal without anybody needing to stand out and say, hey, I'm in charge, or my ego's taking over. And that's what we created with that project. And so I thank all of the authors, because it was up to them, and they performed beautifully and magically together.
It was wonderful, yeah.
It was fantastic, fantastic. Well, it's around Christmas time right now, and this video is going to be released in early January on my channel, and we can release it on your channel too if you want. However you guys want to do that. But you know, for people who are even thinking about it, you know, early 2025 is when this is going to happen, right? I mean, I know you don't really have dates right now, but this isn't like sometime in the summer or later. This is early in the
This
new
is a
year,
spring
right?
project. This will be a spring project, yeah,
But
definitely.
we're looking to have all of the authors secure, hopefully by mid-January, at the very latest at the end of January.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, don't delay. Go ahead and reach out for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everybody. Kate, Will, Allison, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today on
you.
this really special edition
so
of
much for
Animal
inviting me.
Talk. And
Thank
for
you.
those of you who are service to others out there, quantum healers of any kind, come on and join us at quantumhealers.com. We are a guru-free community supporting all healers and service to other people. And you know, some of you people out there are horse therapy people. Come join us. You might be perfect for our group and perfect for this project. I've got some stories, some small ones and even some big ones in that realm of horse therapy space, the EGALA people and other people like that who do therapeutic riding. You too, you're invited to consider being a part of this really amazing project coming up from Will and Allison.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Candice.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Till next time.